I'm the older sister. And this is the Clary family. There we are. So there is Eileen. And John, our brother. Our mom, Alice. Dad, Joe, and me. This was their 50th wedding anniversary at American Martyrs Church. And 1997.
Yep.
Okay. So that's when this whole thing started with Manhattan Beach, 1997.
1947.
I mean, 47. Sorry, that was the 50-year reunion. Okay, so this is what happened. Joe was from Illinois, farm land in Illinois, and Alice was from farm country in Iowa. Dad was in the Marines. He signed up in 1940. Thank you. He signed up in 1940 in the Marines. He ended up in the Pacific in battles of Iwo Jima and Guadalcanal, and he was like a real hero. And he made it out okay, and he actually did not have PTSD, and I don't know how that happened. He was just a very happy human being, and he turned things around, I guess. I don't know. He talked about the war. It's not like he didn't talk about it. He talked about it. But I thought it was interesting that today is the 7th of December in 1941 is when the whole thing started in the Pacific. He was in San Diego. He was at Camp Pendleton. And he then got called out. He was overseas for 4 years. So they had really long, I don't know, times.
Tours.
Tours.
He was military police at.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. He was the military police at Pendleton. So when he got discharged in 1946, they dumped him in San Francisco, and he did not want to go back to Illinois. He liked California, so he saw that they were hiring at the Los Angeles Police Department, and he applied and was accepted, so he moved to LA. My mother came here in 1942 with a girlfriend because she lived in this little town in Iowa, and all the men were gone, and there was no work or anything, so they thought, I mean, this is the bravest thing my mother ever did, seriously. She never took any chances, but can't believe it. She got on a train and moved to California. So they had a mutual friend from the Midwest, Mercedes, who lived in Westchester. So she invited them over, thought they might be a good match, and I'll be darned, it worked out just fine. So they got married in a Catholic church in Huntington Park, and 1947, January 1947. And they started looking around to see where they wanted to live. They wanted to buy a house, and it was post-war, and all these little cities were building up post-war homes. So they traveled around on his days off and snooped around and tried to find something that would match their needs, which were, let me see if I can see this. Okay, they wanted a small town atmosphere like they were used to. They wanted working class residents, which they were. They needed to be within walking distance of anything needed, because my mother never drove and walked everywhere. We all did. I mean, not Dad, but when he was around, we would be going on a family outing, so he would drive us, but otherwise, we walked everywhere. They needed to have a Catholic church and a school because my mother was a hardcore Catholic and Dad became a Catholic. And so where they ended up buying was on John Street in Marine and within walking distance of American Martyrs. So Mom could walk us to school, pick us up, till we got old enough to go on our own. In those days, it didn't take that long to drive to downtown LA where Dad went to work. So that was a bonus. And the big bonus was the ocean breeze. They had never even been around the ocean, but they loved the ocean. They never swam in the ocean that I know of, did they?
No.
Mom never wore a bathing suit. They never did anything, but they liked the ocean breeze. So, let's see. This is where she walked us to. She would walk us, so John and I were only a year apart. So, she would walk John and I to Live Oak Park, and to Marine Street, to the beach. But actually, where's Martha? Marine Avenue, right?
That's what my aunt and uncle called it.
Yes.
I know Kristen would smack me for calling it, she likes to call it Marine Street. Marine Avenue, you're right.
Yeah, Marine Street crabs.
That's
right.
All streets in the day. No one was an avenue.
So she would walk us to the beach because there was a lifeguard there, and Marine Beach was, you just kind of went off the side and walked. And she would often take our neighbors, Judy and Chuck Gibbons, because their mother worked, and so she always would bring them along. And none of us wore shoes. How did we do that? How did we not wear shoes? I could never do that now. My mother wore shoes, but no kids wore shoes. I don't know how we even did that. Okay, so I was born in 1948, right after they bought that house, and I should find a picture of that. Oh, let me see if I have one. Oh, there's Joe getting out of the Marines, or into the Marines. He was a sergeant. He's a wonderful guy. Okay, there's our little house that they bought in 1947. It was just, it was 2 bedroom, 1 bath. It had a pretty good front yard and a really big backyard. It was really great to have little kids there because they had grass and we just went out there. But, okay, that's that part of the story. Let's see. The biggest part of our life was because our parents had no brothers or sisters or anybody out here. It was just really the 5 of us our whole life. But they made the Catholic community part of our family because they just embraced everything Catholic. So all 3 of us went to American Martyrs School, and Dad was president of the Fathers Club. Mom was president of the Mothers Club. They belonged to there's this Catholic organization called the Knights of Columbus. He belonged to that. She belonged to the Ladies of Columbus. He was instrumental in getting the hall that's still there on First and Sepulveda, council number 4567, and he was the first Grand Knight there. And then he actually went off and did greater things in the Knights of Columbus. It was a big organization, and they had a chapter, and he became the chapter president. They were very involved in everything. Our brother John, in those days, the brother got everything. They didn't have as many girls' sports and stuff in those days. I don't know, I was never on a team or anything, but John was. He played Little League, he was in the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts. He, I don't know, they even got all involved in that too. Mom at the snack bar, we would go watch John play, we would go to any Cub Scout things. So the Cub Scout troop was especially, and the Boy Scout troop. My dad got involved being the assistant scoutmaster, but the head scoutmaster was, where's Pam? There's Pam. Her dad was Earl France. I don't know if anybody knew him, but he was a wonderful, wonderful man. And him and my dad became best friends. And their 2 sons, Mike's was her brother, and my brother John, and they were all in the Boy Scout and Cub Scouts, I think. Judy's brother was also in that troop. And as adults, I've had 2 men, one of them, her brother, Chuck, and an old friend of ours, Pat Haley, who also grew up here, tell me that that experience being with those men and that Boy Scout troop was so influential in their lives because they were such good men and they were kind of tough dudes and they really helped these young guys. And that's a wonderful part of our story. Okay. Then, so I went to Bishop Montgomery and so did my brother John, but Eileen went to Maricosta. Because of that, I didn't have as many friends in Manhattan Beach because, you know, in high school you make your friends at your high school. But Judy lived across the street and she was my best friend. And when we were young, somewhere in here, well, there's our backyard. Okay, wait, I'm gonna tell you about that. So that's our grandma and one of our aunts and me, and that in the backyard there was an incinerator. They used to have incinerators here. And clotheslines, and she planted some fruit trees back there. It was really cute. Yeah, well, she didn't keep it up forever.
Was John paved or were you still?
No, it was paved. Yeah. So there's the mom. So see that little crib? I guess it was really safe in those days because she would put us in that little crib and just leave us out there. And so that's how Judy's 2 years older than I. So Judy lived across the street and she would come over and look in the crib and go, what's going on here? And we've been friends ever since. So that's the grandma and the aunt with John and I. Of course, John was getting baptized. We're really in the trenches with everything Catholic. And there's John and I. Okay, so then they built a patio in the backyard. And there's a little birthday party, and there's Judy, that little blonde standing up over there. And then that's Judy with me too, and that's what happened. A house got built behind us, they put a fence up, and it grew. Okay, the church, that's what I was talking about. The Catholic Church was such an important part of our lives. In the 50s when that church was built, it used to be on 10th and Highland, 9th or 10th and Highland, 10th and Highland, I think. And then in 57, I think, that's when this one was built. And the Monsignor at that time called on all the young men to help. So on days off, Saturdays, my dad and all his buddies would go and they did all kinds of things. Because there was no street there, they had a paved 15th Street, and I don't know who actually built the church, but it's such a beautiful church and still is, and it's held up all these years. It's just gorgeous church.
Anne, remember when we were with Jan Dennis in that group, they actually had to pull the materials by sled up the sand dune.
Oh, really?
To the spot.
Oh,
yeah.
thank you. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was not. Well, we recognized American Martyrs as one of our gems, but so we had to dig deep. But
Beautiful.
I just thought I should.
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
a good thing to share.
Yeah.
Okay, that's Marine, believe it or not, because you can see the steps. And Judy told me she took dance lessons in that building. I never knew that.
I did too.
You did too?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know what this pavilion thing was. That was before my time. I never saw that.
I think the red car stopped there, and there was a stop, and it was a shade thing for the red car.
Well, thank you. All
I
right.
think.
Which dates this picture back quite a ways into the 40s, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, because it wasn't there when I started.
Well, so when we went there were swings and stuff over there, slides and swings, and then the lifeguard station was over on this side.
Was this a family photo that you have?
No, I got it out of the museum.
Okay.
I wondered where that went.
Just kidding.
Okay, now this is coming later, but this is the old city hall on 15th and Highland. And at Christmas, I don't know if anybody remembers, but at Christmas time, they decorated it. They had a big nativity scene out there and all these lights, and it was so cute because people didn't decorate like they do now. So Mom, of course, would walk us down there because we never had a car. She didn't drive. And she would take Judy and Chucky, her brother, Chuck. And we would walk down there. It was so beautiful. You remember that? Yeah, okay, very nice.
No, I was rolling down the hill.
Yes.
Okay, so then Eileen's going to tell you more about those crabs. A couple of them are hanging around here. Okay, so these are some of my favorite memories. Playing in the street with all the neighbors.
Yes.
So John Street, I look back now, when I go over there, that street is wide. It's not like other beach city streets. It's really, really wide. And they didn't have as many cars in those days. And there were a ton of baby boomers on that block. And we would all play baseball in the street. We'd all gather. There were so many kids. I don't know how many kids, at least 20 kids.
And that all the men worked in aerospace.
Oh, okay. And we also did, we would play ditch 'em.
Oh, yes.
So what we would do is we would run in the back of the people's houses. They always had a little alleyway like, but it wasn't a real alley. It was just dirt in between two pieces of property. So we would run through there and hide and be out there till dusk. And my dad got in real trouble one day. We were out there playing, and he was coming home from work on Marine, and he saw me. I was on Marine going to hide somewhere. And he said, "Oh, I'm going over to my friend Tiny's and have a drink." Well, Tiny was he was a Manhattan Beach policeman, actually. But he wasn't tiny, he was about 6'6", and a big old moosey guy. Do you remember Tiny Smith? So, Tiny lived on 23rd and Pacific. So I hop in the car and I go over to Tiny's and they're having a drink and a gay old time, and he never tells my mom. So it gets dark and she's out there going, "Where's Ann? Where's Ann?" Nobody knows where Ann is. And boy, I really hid this time, didn't I? And then finally Dad said, "Well, if you knew my dad, you'd know he had this big deep voice. Okay, we better get going home." We went home and my mom just blasted him because he didn't tell her he took me, and he was like shocked. Oh, I should have told you. Anyway, that was a thing. Okay, back to the other things I loved. Okay, so I also loved to go downtown. We always called Manhattan Beach downtown. We always walked downtown, and there was a bookstore on Highland and Manhattan Beach Boulevard, and they sold records and books. And I was totally into Nancy Drew books. So my mother lined me up to be Manhattan Beach babysitter. I babysat all over this city. I don't know why anybody would even hire me, because I would eat all their food. If they had cigarettes, I'd smoke them. I was just the worst babysitter, but they must have been desperate because I babysat everywhere. So I would take my babysitting money and then I would go and buy myself a new Nancy Drew book, and it was so much fun. We went oftentimes to the Lamar, which I know everybody misses, and we would see that double feature on Saturdays. That was so wonderful. What, for a quarter? There used to be a library down on Manhattan Avenue, and then they moved up to 15th Street. And so Judy's mother was a waitress, but she also was a part-time librarian, because she really loved books and stuff, but she had to make money for her family, so she worked at several places in Manhattan Beach, actually. And so I would go down and visit her when she was working, and then she just loved it because I love books and she loved books, so she'd help me find all these wonderful books. We had this bond, her mom and I, because you guys didn't have that bond, that book reading bond.
Your mom.
Oh, I
My
know.
mom was my mom.
Yeah, we kind of switched out. Okay, we also love the Helms Bakery truck that came and went on each block, and jelly donuts and all these wonderful things. We just loved them when that came by. And then, where's Leslie? There she is. Okay, and one of the things we did, that's Leslie Pettit, and she and her sister was my age, and we all went to America Martyrs. And her sister Cheryl, and I just loved going with them because her mom, I thought, was the perfect mom. Of course, I had a wonderful mom, but you always want what everybody else has. And so their mom used to pick them up from school at American Martyrs. There was this beautiful dress store down on Hermosa Avenue and Pier Avenue.
Lawns.
What?
It was lawns.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
L-A-N-Z, lawns.
really?
What was it called?
Lawns, L-A-N-Z.
Oh, yeah.
So she would take her daughters down there and she would buy them dresses, all these little beautiful girly things. Do you remember that?
No,
But
because
she
that was
did.
what she did mostly with my sister, who was the girly girl.
Oh, is that what that was?
They would drag me kicking and screaming to do that.
Well, she bought them beautiful clothes and I was so jealous. My mom doesn't even drive and she would never take to buy me a dress. Anyway, they lived on Pacific originally, and then they built a house on 18th and John at the very end where it dead ends. So John's really from Marine to 18th Street is just 3 blocks long, so it was kind of intimate around that neighborhood because of that. So a couple of years we went Christmas caroling. I don't know why or how, but Leslie went and Eileen went and Judy went and her sister Cheryl and I went, and maybe, I don't know what we were doing. I can't sing at all.
We worked for hot chocolate.
Yeah, I guess we did. Anyway, that's one of my favorite dreams. And I think that is all I have to say. Now it's your turn. Wait, let me see, what else do I need to move forward?
Well, ask if they have any questions.
Okay. Oh, I forgot to tell you about the railroad tracks. So that's John and I, and right behind us over there are the railroad tracks. Well, the railroad tracks were a huge part of our life because at that time a train went once a day. And so we would go over there and the tracks are kind of high, and then tumbleweeds used to be there all the time. So we would build forts, and I don't know what we did, but we were always on those railroad tracks. We'd put pennies there to flatten them. We'd put our ears on there and say, "Oh, I hear a rumble, it's coming, it's coming," I mean, it was a huge part of our lives.
And the hobos.
And the hobos, Eileen's gonna talk about the hobos in a minute. And there's our parents at their anniversary. That's when they were newly married, and that's their 50th. And that was, of course, at the Knights of Columbus Hall, because we had all of our events at the Knights of Columbus Hall, up there on Sepulveda. And there's also, when the house was actually brand new, I kind of just found that and threw it in there. But our uncle came from Iowa, and there's nothing going on there. They must have just moved in. Okay, here's Eileen.
Oh,
Baby girl.
okay. And so I just go forward. All right, well, we'll start here. And somebody joined the family there, and in an infamous day, November 5th, 1953, and there I am with my siblings. So, at Torrance Memorial Hospital for the total cost of $117.85.
Wow.
And then I was transferred to this sleepy little quaint town called Manhattan Beach, full of hills, waves, sand, and tumbleweeds, what Jan just talked about. And it was really comfortable living there. And then let's go on and see what we've got over here. There I am with my dad. There's the Larson's house across the street.
Did anybody ever know of the Anderson gift shop downtown
Oh,
Manhattan?
yeah.
Well, the Larsons, our neighbors, own Anderson gift shop, so.
And Judy can tell you more about what's over there on the corner. The little trap door on Marine Street, right?
A
Well,
cellar.
Cellar.
there was a cellar,
Wow.
you know, down on the back side of the house. And I used to pack my bag when I was running away from home. And I'd go down there and I'd get down by the cellar so much nobody could find me, you know.
And so I think we're going to Easter Sunday Mass there or something like that. I'm very little. Okay, here we go. There's Dad. I didn't know, my mother would have never let a man put his hands on like that, but I had no idea that was my father in the Santa with a bonnet on my head. I'm not quite the bonnet person. And who's that? That must be me down at the
Yeah.
bottom. Yeah, that's me. Where are we? I don't even
He
know.
had the curly, beautiful.
I had really curly hair.
You're in
Yeah.
the front living room.
Okay. Oh, I can look
Yeah.
here. There we go. Where'd you get that green dress and what's that?
Look at that.
Okay, and here we are with our 55 Chevy, which I'll add, since I'm the smallest, there were no back seat in it, let alone seat belts, and I sat on the transmission. Ann and John got this, whatever was seating on the wheels in the car.
He got a deal.
But he had to come to a stop one time at the ditch right there off of Laurel on 15th there, and
We're coming from church. We were driving home from church.
okay, and he was waving at somebody, and we all ended up in the front seat.
We're all crying because we sat on our knees and we're going, oh, our knees, our knees.
Now you may remember Perry's tobacco shop.
Anybody remember that?
I do, yeah.
Okay, and it smelled like cherry tobacco in there.
And in fact, the woman, she smoked a pipe. Oh, it was like, I saw her one time going toward the back and she said, she was young, but she said, no, we never, women don't smoke pipes in public. And they were, yeah, I didn't remember that show.
Yeah, we used to have fun because then we could go to Becker's Bakery
Oh, yeah.
and then Joe's Candy Cottage if we wanted or whatever, but that was right there in that location and we had a great time and Dad smoked those pipes. You'll see him with a pipe here pretty soon. Okay, so Diane was saying boys got away with a lot. Look who's mowing the lawn. And then that, I believe, is my friend Mary Jo, but I threw that in because that was just the style. And I got rubella at 10 years old. So every mother in Manhattan Beach had their kid come and stay with me, their daughter. And because they wanted to catch rubella, but I was in the remission stage, and so none of the rest of them ever got it because it was a pregnancy thing, right? Or so they thought, whatever it is. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw in the bookcase that was behind us there. And then that's my first cat, Inky, at the bottom there. Well, here's a funny story about Inky. Inky was, my brother and I taught him to be a very malicious little cat. And Ann would be getting ready to go to high school and have her nylons on. And we taught the cat to come out from underneath the skirt and rip her nylon.
They did. She's not kidding.
And there she'd get a run, so here'd come out the clear nail polish. But he was malicious. That cat lived to be almost 20 years old.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, Mom took care of him. And I just thought I'd show you the old console, the old television set in the background, and the our heater.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so let's see, what else did we dig up in here? Okay, that's you and me on the
You're on the
driveway.
driveway.
Yeah, remember they had, the driveway had a patch
Yes.
of grass in the middle and 2 cement paths on the side?
The old front porch, and on the bottom there I am at graduation. Is that your old car?